Headline: Is Coca-Cola really leaving America? The truth unveiled. Imagine this. You're scrolling through YouTube and suddenly a video pops up. Coca-Cola is abandoning America. 50% aluminum tariffs strike. The headlines are everywhere, and the comments section is a frenzy. It feels like a plot twist straight out of a movie, and people are reacting with everything from disbelief to panic. But before you start hoarding Coke cans or writing dramatic goodbye letters to your favorite fizzy drink, let's dig into what's really happening and why. Here's the real headline. Coca-Cola is not leaving the United States. The rumors are just that, rumors. That viral claim, it's got about as much substance as a flat soda left out overnight. There's no official statement, no credible news report, nothing to back it up, just a wave of wild YouTube theories and clickbait headlines. But, as with most viral stories, there's a kernel of truth buried in the hype, and that's where things get interesting. So what's actually happening? On June 4, 2025, the US government doubled tariffs on imported steel and aluminum, from 25% to a whopping 50%. This is one of the largest tariff hikes on these metals in recent decades, echoing trade tensions from as far back as the 1980s, when tariffs were used to protect American industries from foreign competition. The UK's been spared for now, but for most other countries, these tariffs are a major blow. Historically, similar tariffs have led to trade disputes and even retaliatory measures from other nations. Industries that depend on these metals, cars, construction, and yes, canned drinks, are suddenly facing much higher costs. In 2018, when tariffs were first imposed at 10 to 25%, the US aluminum industry saw price spikes and supply chain disruptions. Now, with a 50% tariff, the impact is even more severe. That puts real pressure on beverage giants like Coca-Cola, who rely on millions of aluminum cans every day. But instead of packing up and leaving, Coca-Cola's leadership has called the new tariffs manageable. They've weathered similar storms before, including the 2018 tariffs, and have strategies in place. They're not thrilled, but they're not panicking either. In fact, Coca-Cola has a long history of adapting to economic and political changes, from sugar shortages during World War II to global supply chain crises. So how are they handling it? They're exploring new suppliers, considering more plastic or glass packaging, and finding creative ways to keep costs down, just as they did during past trade disputes. It's important to note, most of the raw aluminum is actually purchased by independent bottlers, not Coca-Cola itself. This decentralized system has helped Coke stay resilient in the face of supply shocks before. And compared to Pepsi, Coca-Cola's in a slightly better spot. Why? Most of their concentrate is made right here in the U.S., Atlanta and Puerto Rico to be exact, so they're less exposed to those extra tariffs. This domestic production has been a strategic advantage for decades, but what about you, the shopper? Are you about to pay double for your favorite six-pack? That's the question lighting up social media and news comment sections. The answer? Not really. Even with the new tariffs, analyses show the cost per six-pack might only go up by about 6 cents. For context, when tariffs were first introduced in 2018, the average price increase was just a few cents per can. That's a pretty minor bump, and a company the size of Coca-Cola can likely absorb it without passing much on to you. Historically, Coke has only raised prices when absolutely necessary and usually by small amounts. In fact, since the announcement, Coke's share price hasn't even blinked. Investors seem confident the company can handle the pressure. But here's a twist. If Coke and others start shifting away from aluminum cans and using more plastic, that's actually a bigger deal for the environment. Public reaction has been mixed, with some worried about higher prices, but many more concerned about the environmental fallout. Aluminum is highly recyclable. Over 75% of all aluminum ever produced is still in use today. Plastic, on the other hand, is much less likely to be recycled, and often ends up in landfills or oceans. Coca-Cola already uses a huge amount of plastic, and any increase could worsen global pollution. Environmental groups are already sounding the alarm, urging companies to stick with recyclable materials. Stepping back, the US relies on imports for almost half its aluminum, so these tariffs shake up not just soda, but a huge chunk of American manufacturing. In 2023, the US imported over 5 million metric tons of aluminum, mostly from Canada, China, and the Middle East. Some industry groups warn this could hurt US businesses, raise prices for consumers, and send supply chains running elsewhere. In the past, similar tariffs have led to job losses in downstream industries, even as they aimed to protect domestic producers. So, let's wrap it up. The public reaction has been a mix of confusion, concern, and skepticism, fueled by viral headlines and social media debates. The tariffs are real, and companies like Coca-Cola are tightening their belts. But the idea that Coke is ditching America? Completely false. The company has survived wars, recessions, and trade disputes before, and it's not going anywhere now. Don't believe everything you see in a viral headline. Take a closer look, ask questions, and check the facts. Want to know more about how Coke and other industries are navigating these changes? Drop your questions below. Let's keep the conversation going. And hey, maybe keep that can of Coke extra cold, just in case. Let's dive deeper into the can, literally. While Coca-Cola grabs all the headlines, the ripple effects of those aluminum tariffs are splashing across the entire beverage aisle. Think about this, it's not just soda makers feeling the squeeze. Beer companies, energy drinks, sparkling water brands. If it comes in a can, it's suddenly more expensive to make. For example, Molson Coors, the company behind Coors Light and Miller Lite, recently stated that higher aluminum prices could cost them up to $40 million extra this year alone. And it's not just the big names. Smaller craft breweries who buy aluminum in smaller quantities don't have the bargaining power to negotiate lower prices, making it even tougher to stay afloat. Industry experts are sounding the alarm. According to the Can Manufacturers Institute, U.S. beverage makers use about 5 million metric tons of aluminum each year, most of it imported. That means every price hike hits hard, especially for businesses operating on thin margins. Some analysts warn that persistent tariffs could trigger higher prices for consumers and even force some local bottlers or brewers out of business. But it's not all doom and gloom. Some companies are getting creative, like switching to refillable glass bottles, rolling out limited edition plastic packaging, or even investing in domestic recycling programs to secure cheaper aluminum. As John Hayes, a packaging industry analyst, puts it, tariffs are a headache, but they also push companies to innovate and rethink supply chains. So next time you crack open a cold can, remember there's a lot more going on behind the scenes than just fizz and flavor. The aluminum tariff story is changing the way your favorite drinks get to your fridge, and it's a story that's still unfolding. When beverage companies swap aluminum cans for plastic bottles to dodge tariffs, there's more at stake than just dollars and cents. Let's look at the environmental tab. Aluminum cans, though energy-intensive to produce, are among the most recycled containers in the world. About 50% of cans in the US get recycled. In contrast, only around 30% of plastic bottles make it into recycling bins, with the rest piling up in landfills or spilling into oceans. According to a 2023 EPA report, plastic packaging waste in the US topped 14.5 million tons last year, much of it from single-use bottles. Case in point, when a major soda brand switched 20% of its product line from cans to plastic bottles in 2022, their annual plastic waste footprint grew by nearly 10,000 tons. That's enough to fill over 500 garbage trucks. But there are solutions. Some beverage makers are investing in plant-based plastics which break down faster, while others are ramping up refillable bottle programs. Innovative startups are even piloting aluminum can recycling initiatives at concert venues and sports arenas, aiming to boost recovery rates. Experts agree, the best path forward is a circular system, making, using, collecting, and remaking packaging, whether it's aluminum or plastic. So, while tariffs push companies to rethink materials, it's up to the industry, policymakers, and all of us as consumers to make sure those changes don't come at the planet's expense.